Hey, welcome back to the show. I absolutely love the killer tones, the riffs, the songs, everything about Ride the Lightning. It's just such an epic album. I just came back from the concert actually in Brisbane and I'm so stoked. I'm so excited about it. It was just so freaking cool. It was unreal. But as soon as James opened the concert with Creeping Death, I lost my shit, and all I could think of was just coming home and just jamming those riffs out. But what I thought of for today, instead of trying to recreate this tone in its entirety and do all the layers and the harmonies and like build a massive scenescape in that sense, I thought we'll just try and use an amp and give you like a live jamming with friends sort of feel that it dials the tone beautifully when you're just in the room listening to it. I'm running this all silently today just so I'm not hurting the birds' ears and annoying neighbours, but it works really good in a live sense. And so the actual essence of this tone that I just had then, apart from having the Marshall bass crunch, I've got the Marshall DSL100. I've done this tone so many different times with like the Marshall DSL20. They both have their own sort of weaknesses and strengths, but the DSL100 has a fantastic power amp. It's really crunchy, hits like a truck. I'm just running it on full power mode. I find the full power mode sounds so much better than the Pentode. I'm on the lead 1 channel. I absolutely love this channel on this amp. I find lead 2 is just a little bit too compressed. It's a little bit too much. It just loses that crunch, but the lead 1, just with the gain like from 12 to 1 o'clock with an OD in front, you get an absolutely killer crunchy tone. Everything else is fairly centered for the controls on this. The tone shift is definitely out. I never depress the tone shift. I think it just takes away so much tone out of this amp. But as far as the EQ goes, I think it just works really well. It's got a fantastic effects loop in the back that works really good with EQs. We'll get to that in a little bit. As far as the reverbs go, I actually prefer the reverb on the DSL20H. I just think it's like a more natural sounding and you can get some huge reverbs. This has the 2 reverbs for each of the corresponding channels, but for some reason I just don't think it sounds as good. But needless to say, it's just an absolutely killer amp, and I just love the way that it hits like a truck and just feels really huge. But before we get to the pedals, just for a really quick rundown, I've got my Jackson RR5 Japan 2007 model. So out of the amp, it's going into my 2 Notes Reload 2, where I'm just being able to record this silently. That's sending 2 different mono signals straight to my Focusrite Claret audio interface, where in Logic I've got open Genome software and running a Dave Mustaine cab on one side and like a Marshall vintage cabinet on the other. And that really is just simulating the 2 live cabinets that I run in the room just when I'm practicing and jamming. I've got my Randall cab here that's got the original V30s in it, like from the 90s. They sound fantastic, and I like my Marshall 1936V cabinet with the G12 vintage speakers in it. Just the blend of those two. This one sounds a little bit thicker and punchy and full, and I find the 1936V, it's got like more of a higher top end, so it just sort of, they blend together really nicely and you just get a really full sound. And that's just really what I try and simulate when I'm recording this tone for you guys. So I'll go through all this one at a time and we'll just turn pedals on and off and just see exactly what they do and how they affect the tone. But the amp on its own without any pedals connected, and from there I'll just turn on the Ibanez Tube Screamer. I have the drive all the way down, the volume all the way up, the tone directly centered, and I find it just thickens things up and just focuses that tone. And you get the idea with that. It just changes the way that the string actually just strikes, and you get more of that sort of metal sound, like it tightens the front up and you just get more of that sort of choppy, edgy. If you turn it off, it really just adds that little bit of hair to the top of the tone. I just love that about overdrives, and that's the only pedal that I'd run through the front end of the amp. If I was doing a solo, I'd possibly either have a second overdrive just with different settings, or I'll just turn the drive up on that to about 10 o'clock and you'll just get a huge thick solo tone. So it brings us now to just running outboard effects in the effects loop. And the Marshall DSL series, both the DSL20, the 100, I'm sure the 40 is the same, they've just got fantastic effects loops. They're really clean and clear. They work great with noise gates, EQs, all the delays and everything you can think of. But a pedal I absolutely love, and I think it's compulsory for any Metallica tone, is the Master Effects Puppet Master EQ. It's just such a simple EQ to use. That's why I love it. All EQs, on top of just adjusting the frequencies and just being an EQ as such, they do have their own sort of sound and flavor built into them, and this one does sound unique in its own way. It's one of my favorites, but again, I'll reference it. I've got the Ibanez Tube Screamer on. And you can hear the difference right there. The reason I really do like EQs outboard of the guitar amp is because a lot of the EQs built into the front of the guitar amp, as you turn up the bass or you turn up the mids, it actually affects the way that that amp behaves. You've really got to think about it like a Mesa Boogie. So if you turn up the bass on the actual preamp here, it just makes things just get really muddy and flabby. Whereas if you leave the bass nice and low here, the amp is really crunchy and tight. But on the outboard section, you can really crank the bass there, and it just puts bass on top of that whole tone. So you get a really crunchy tone, but you can make it really heavy. It's a hard thing to try and describe, but that's the way that I love using EQs through an effects loop in an amp. I can just turn up those frequencies that would usually be undesirable just to have so high, but that's just my quick explanation. I hope that it helps anyone that's a little confused with that. And that really is just the core of the tone right there. On top of that, you can have a noise gate. I've got the Fortin Zool Plus, and that's going through both the effects loop and the key and key through feature on the front. It's a really cool noise gate and just does its job and helps accentuate that first hit just to be really sort of clinical on and off. It's pretty explanatory. Sometimes I do prefer to turn off the noise gate and just get all that unwanted noise coming through and everything. It just really adds to that whole live experience, and just getting the feedback and a little bit of buzzing, like that is actually really cool in its own right as well. And something else I've just added for today is a compressor through the effects loop. And this really does just simulate that live recording. There's a lot of compression on that album, and when you turn that on, you just really get that sort of, that wall of sound just hitting you really hard. I've got the Origin Effects Cali 76. It's the only compressor I've ever had, but I absolutely love this. It stays on the board a whole lot. And you can hear there, it just makes that initial attack just really hit like a freight train. It's just got that same sort of, like it adds crunch to the whole signal. I think if I was recording this and doing loads of layers and doing left and right and harmonies and octaves and everything I used to do for those covers, I wouldn't be running the compressor through the effects loop on this. I would actually be using an onboard compressor through Logic later on, just for like putting all the guitar tracks together and just adding the compression then, rather than having compression on each track. I'd be going about it that way, but just for a live sense and just getting that real sort of impactful album sort of sound, it's perfect. It's such epic riffs to play. But something else that's really cool is Tone Gods did that masterclass with Fleming Rasmussen. I've checked it out. It was really cool just to watch. Fleming has such cool things to talk about, and all these different videos. There's hours and hours of videos just to check out, and there's even IRs and how they recorded the drums. And I can't say too much about it, as there was like a whole lot of work just went into doing it, and they painstakingly just tried to recreate everything about it, and just Fleming's insight onto all those tones and what actually happened is, I don't know how he remembers it all. He's like late 60s, and this is something that happened 40 years ago, but it was really cool just to check out. He goes through all his notes and talks about everything, and look, I'll have links for the description in that, and I'll try and make a video on it somehow later without giving too much away, but it was just really cool for any Metallica fan just to check out and watch. And that's about all I have for you guys, just on how I go about trying to dial this tone if I was jamming live or just playing with mates and things. This is exactly what I would just be doing, just to really just come in with that epic sort of crunch and everything over the top. But I'm still on cloud nine with that concert the other night. My voice was so sore afterwards. I just had so much fun. Met heaps of cool dudes, just talked about everything we love, and such a good time. But that's about all, guys. I really hope this could help in somehow, but it gave me an excuse to just jam some lightning riffs. But look, until next time, guys, take care.
Thank you.